She had $1 left to her name. She gave it to a dying biker she found on the street, along with her only food. What she didn't know, he led 499 bikers across the nation, and by morning, every single one of them showed up on her block with engines roaring and a debt to repay. The wind cut through Maya's jacket like it wasn't even there. She pressed closer to the dying fire in the rusted tin can, watching orange embers fade to black. Midnight had passed an hour ago, maybe two. Time didn't matter much when you had nowhere to be. The closed diner behind her cast long shadows across the empty street, its neon sign flickering weakly, Rosie's Diner, open 24/7, a lie that had been true once, before the world forgot about this part of town. Maya pulled her knees tighter to her chest. 23 years old and invisible. That's what homelessness did, it erased you while you were still breathing. A motorcycle coughed somewhere in the darkness. She looked up. The sound came again, sputtering, dying. Then silence. Maya waited. The street remained empty. But something felt wrong. She grabbed the small flashlight she'd found in a dumpster last week and stood, her legs stiff from the cold. The beam swept across cracked pavement, over graffiti-covered walls, until it landed on him. A man. Slumped against a motorcycle that looked as broken as he did. His leather jacket was worn but expensive once. His face was pale, not just cold pale, but the kind of pale that meant his body was shutting down. His lips had a blue tint. His chest barely moved. Maya's nursing instincts kicked in before her survival ones could stop her. She rushed over, dropping to her knees beside him. Hey! Hey, can you hear me? His eyes fluttered open, gray, unfocused. Cold, he whispered. Haven't eaten. 2 days. 2 days. Maya knew that feeling. She'd gone 3 once. She pressed her hand to his forehead. Burning up. Fever and starvation, a dangerous combination. He needed a hospital, but calling 911 meant questions she couldn't answer, attention she couldn't afford. And honestly, she'd seen how ambulances treated people like them. Slow response. Judgment in their eyes. The man's hand trembled as he tried to reach for his jacket pocket. Wallet. Inside. Don't move, Maya said. She could steal it. Should steal it, maybe. That's what this city expected from someone like her. Instead, she checked his pulse. Weak but steady. When's the last time you drank water? She asked. Don't remember. Maya looked back at her small camp, a cardboard shelter, a backpack with everything she owned, and a half-eaten sandwich she'd been saving for breakfast. The sandwich she'd found in a cafe trash can, still wrapped, barely touched by whoever threw it away. She grabbed it and her water bottle, 3/4 full, which was basically wealth in her world. Here, she unscrewed the cap and helped him drink. He coughed, then drank more. Color started returning to his face, just a shade. Hungry? She unwrapped the sandwich. He stared at it like it was a mirage. I can't. You need. I asked if you're hungry. He took it with shaking hands and ate. Not fast, he was too weak for that, but steady, like a man remembering what it meant to be human. Maya watched him. There was something about him that didn't fit. The motorcycle, even broken, was a custom build, she could tell by the chrome detailing. His boots were real leather, not the fake stuff. And his jacket, beneath the road dust, had patches sewn with care. Name's Jax, he said between bites. Jax Hunter. Maya. You're not from around here, Maya. I can tell. She almost laughed. What gave it away? The designer cardboard box? Your hands, he nodded at them. You've got nurse hands. Clean nails. You wash them a lot. Habit doesn't die, even out here. Maya pulled her hands back, surprised. How did you used to notice things? Before, he trailed off, his eyes distant. Then he reached into his pocket, pulling out a crumpled dollar bill. Here. For the sandwich. No. Please, his voice cracked. I don't take charity. Maya understood pride. It was the last thing she owned. She reached into her own pocket and pulled out her dollar. Her only dollar. She'd been saving it for emergency bus fare, one ride to anywhere better, whenever she found the courage to leave. Trade you, she said, holding it out. Your dollar's too wrinkled. Mine's better. It was a lie. His was in better shape. But Jax looked at her dollar, then at her face, and something shifted in his expression. Recognition. Respect. He took her dollar. She took his. You're a good liar, he said softly. You're a bad patient. You need sleep. Can't. Bike's broken. People expecting me. I have to. He tried to stand and collapsed. Maya caught him. He was heavy, but she'd moved worse. She dragged him into the alley beside the diner, out of the wind. She laid him down on flattened cardboard and covered him with her only blanket, a thin, threadbare thing that wouldn't do much, but it was all she had. Rest, she said. I'll keep watch. Why? His eyes were already closing. Why help me? Maya thought about it. About all the people who'd walked past her. About the invisible line society drew between worthy and worthless. Because someone should have helped you 2 days ago. Jax's lips moved like he wanted to say something, but sleep took him first. Maya sat beside him through the night, feeding the fire with scraps of wood, keeping the cold at bay. She didn't know his story. Didn't know that the patches on his jacket meant he led thousands. Didn't know that the phone in his pocket, dead now, had 73 missed calls from people searching for him. All she knew was that he was cold, and hungry, and human. Sometimes, that's all that matters. As dawn began to crack the sky, Maya heard it. A sound like distant thunder. Growing closer. Maya's eyes snapped open. She'd fallen asleep sitting up, her back against the cold brick wall. The fire had died hours ago. Jax was still breathing, she checked first thing, an old habit from her nursing student days. But that sound. It started as a low rumble, like a storm rolling in from far away. Then it grew. And grew. Until the ground itself seemed to vibrate. Engines. Dozens of them. Maybe more. Maya scrambled to her feet, her heart hammering. Cops? Gang? She'd seen turf wars before, motorcycles rolling in meant violence more often than not. She shook Jax's shoulder. Wake up. We need to move. His eyes opened, clearer than last night. The food and rest had helped. What's? Then he heard it too. And smiled. They found me, he whispered. Who found you? Before he could answer, the first motorcycle turned onto the street. Then another. And another. They kept coming, a flood of chrome and leather, filling the narrow street like a river of metal and thunder. Maya pressed herself against the wall, trying to make herself smaller, invisible again. But they'd already seen her. The motorcycles formed a semicircle around the alley entrance. Riders dismounted, men and women of all ages, all wearing the same patch on their backs, a silver iron cross with wings spread wide. Beneath it, words she could barely read, Iron Brotherhood. A woman with gray hair and kind eyes approached first. She saw Jax on the ground and her expression flooded with relief. Jax. Jesus, we've been searching for 2 days, she knelt beside him, checking his pulse professionally. Martinez, get the medic kit. Anderson, water and protein bars. Move. I'm fine, Carol, Jack said, sitting up slowly. Better than fine. You're an idiot is what you are. Carol's voice was sharp, but her hands were gentle as she examined him. Bike breaks down in the middle of nowhere, phone dies, and you decide to just... What? Walk it off. Met someone. Jax looked past her to Maya, who was inching toward the alley's other exit. Her name's Maya. She saved my life. Every head turned. Maya froze. 40, 50, maybe more eyes on her. She felt exposed, naked. Her hand instinctively went to the rip in her jacket, trying to cover it. She gave me her last dollar, Jax continued, his voice carrying across the sudden silence. And her last meal. When I had nothing, when I was nobody to her, she gave me everything she had. It wasn't, Maya started, but her voice came out too quiet. Jax stood up, steadier now, and walked toward her. The crowd parted. He reached into his pocket and pulled out her dollar, the one she'd traded him. He held it up like a trophy. This is worth more than gold, he said, not to her, but to everyone. Because it came from someone who understands what empty means. And she filled it anyway. Carol pulled out her phone, already recording. Jax, what are you doing? What we should have done from the start. He turned to the camera. Live stream this, Carol. People need to hear this story. You're still recovering. Now. Carol's fingers flew across the screen. Within seconds, her phone's screen showed a red dot. Live. My name is Jax Hunter, he said to the camera. President of the Iron Brotherhood, a veteran and homeless youth outreach network. 2 nights ago, I broke down in the forgotten part of this city. No phone, no food, no help. I was shutting down, literally dying, when this young woman appeared. He gestured to Maya. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She didn't know me. Didn't know what I represented or who I was. She just knew I was hungry and cold. So she gave me her only dollar, a dollar she'd probably been saving for something important, and half her sandwich. Then she kept watch over me all night in the freezing cold. The camera turned to Maya. She saw herself on the phone screen, small, dirty, scared. Everything she tried to hide for years, now broadcast to strangers. She asked for nothing in return, Jax continued. Expected nothing. Because that's what real kindness looks like. It doesn't calculate. It doesn't wait for cameras or praise. It just gives. Comments started flooding Carol's screen. Maya could see them scrolling past. Is there a donation link? Where is this? How can we help? No, Maya whispered. Stop. Please stop. But the Brotherhood was already moving. Riders pulled bags from their saddlebags, blankets, food, water bottles. Someone had a camping stove going within minutes. The smell of coffee filled the air. More bikers arrived. Maya counted past 100 and stopped. The entire street was filled with them now. Some set up tables. Others started handing out supplies to the few homeless people who'd emerged from the shadows, drawn by the noise and the impossible sight of help arriving without strings attached. The diner owner, old Mr. Kowalski, opened his doors for the first time in weeks, overwhelmed by the sudden flood of customers offering to pay for meals for anyone who needed them. Maya's chest tightened. This was too much. Too big. She'd given $1, not started a revolution. She turned and ran. Into the alley, past the cardboard shelter, down the narrow gap between buildings where motorcycles couldn't follow. Behind her, she heard Jax call out, "Let her go. She'll come back." But Maya didn't believe him. She'd learned long ago that good things didn't last. Especially not for people like her. Maya hid for 3 hours. She found her usual spot, an abandoned loading dock 2 blocks away, behind a Chinese restaurant that threw out perfectly good rice every Tuesday. It was Monday, so she had the place to herself. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The live stream had exploded. She'd glimpsed the numbers before she ran, thousands of viewers, climbing fast. By now, probably tens of thousands. All watching her. Judging her. Deciding whether she deserved their pity or their scorn. She pulled her knees to her chest. This was exactly what she'd avoided for 2 years. Attention meant questions. Questions meant her past catching up. Her student loans. Her mother's medical debt collectors. The family who'd called her selfish for dropping out of nursing school, as if watching her mother die slowly from cancer was a choice. Invisible was safer. Footsteps echoed on the concrete. Maya tensed, ready to run again. Found you, but it wasn't Jax's voice. It was Carol's, the gray-haired woman from earlier. She held 2 paper cups. Thought you might want coffee. Real coffee, not the gas station swill. I don't want anything. Good. Neither did I when I was where you are. Carol sat down anyway, uninvited, and set 1 cup beside Maya. 8 years ago, I was sleeping in my car. Divorced, broke, too proud to ask my kids for help. Jax found me trying to hotwire a bike for food money. Despite herself, Maya looked up. He arrest you? He gave me a job, Carol smiled. Turns out I'm pretty good at organizing chaos. Now I run logistics for the Brotherhood's outreach programs. We've helped 4,000 people in 3 years. Some just needed a meal. Some needed a new start. I don't need saving. I know. That's why Jax sent me instead of coming himself. He knew you'd run if he showed up. Carol sipped her coffee. He wants to give you something. And before you bolt, it's not charity. Everything's charity when you're homeless. Is it? Carol's eyes were sharp. You gave Jax your last dollar. Was that charity? That was different. How? Maya didn't have an answer. Or maybe she did, but it tangled in her throat. Carol pulled an envelope from her jacket. Donations came in overnight. $23,000. People want to help the woman who helped Jax. This is yours. The envelope sat between them like a live grenade. Maya stared at it. $23,000. Enough to get an apartment. Pay her debts. Eat something besides trash can sandwiches. Sleep without one eye open. She pushed it back. I can't. Can't or won't. Both. Maya's voice cracked. If I take that money, I become a transaction. A feel-good story people share and forget. What I gave Jax wasn't business. It was human. The second I take payment for being human, I lose the only thing I have left. Carol studied her for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She nodded and put the envelope away. Okay. But there's something else. I said no. The shelter you were sleeping near? St. Anthony's? The roof's been leaking for 6 months. Half the beds are moldy. The city won't fix it, says there's no budget. Winter's coming, and people are going to freeze. Maya knew St. Anthony's. She'd slept there twice before deciding the street was safer. At least outdoors, she could see danger coming. The Brotherhood wants to fix it, Carol continued. New roof, new beds, working showers. We've got the volunteers. But we need someone who knows the place. Someone who knows what actually helps versus what looks good in photos. You want me to coordinate? I want you to work. Real work, paid hourly like everyone else. You tell us what needs fixing, we fix it. You help distribute supplies, we pay you for your time. No cameras, no publicity, no savior narratives. Just work. It was a trap. A kind trap, but still a trap. Maya could feel it. And if I say no? We fix it anyway. But it'll take longer, and we'll probably screw up what actually matters. Your choice. Maya looked at the coffee cup beside her. Still steaming. Carol had brought it black, no sugar, no cream. She'd noticed. That small detail cracked something in Maya's chest. I don't want to be on camera again. Deal. And I'm not wearing a Brotherhood jacket or becoming a mascot. Deal. And when the job's done, I walk away. No strings. Carol extended her hand. Deal. Maya hesitated. Then shook it. One condition from me, Carol added. You have to meet with Jax. Just once. He wants to talk. About what? About why you ran. And why he understands. They met at Rosie's diner that evening. The owner, Mr. Kowalski, had given them a corner booth and promised privacy. The diner hummed with new life. The Brotherhood had jump-started business by paying for community meals. Jack sat across from her, looking healthier but tired. His gray eyes carried the weight of someone who'd seen too much. You saved my life, he said simply. You already thanked me. Not properly. He pulled out a folder. This is my file. Marine Corps, 3 tours in Afghanistan. Came home to nothing, no job, no support, no one who understood. Ended up on the streets for 8 months before another veteran found me. He slid the folder across. Maya didn't open it. I refused help for 6 months, Jax continued. Told myself I didn't need charity. That accepting help meant I was weak. And I almost died from that pride. He leaned forward. You're not weak for accepting help, Maya. You're smart. Because you can't fill other people's cups if yours is empty. Maya's throat tightened. Work with us, Jack said. Not for us. With us. Outside, the sun was setting. Through the window, Maya could see the Brotherhood members already unloading supplies at St. Anthony's. She thought about her empty cup. About 2 years of emptying it for everyone else. Maybe it was time to let someone pour back. Okay, she whispered. But I work for it. Jack smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. The work started at dawn. Maya arrived at St. Anthony's with coffee still warm in her hands, purchased, not scavenged, a small miracle that still felt strange. The Brotherhood was already there, a dozen riders unloading tools and lumber from trucks that had appeared overnight. Jax handed her a clipboard. You're in charge of the checklist. Tell us what needs fixing first. Maya scanned the shelter with fresh eyes. The roof. Then the showers. Then the kitchen ventilation. Half the residents have respiratory problems from the mold. Practical. I like it. Jax turned to the crew. You heard her. Roof team with Anderson, plumbing with Martinez, kitchen with me. They moved like a military unit, efficient, no wasted motion. Maya watched, surprised by how naturally they followed orders. These weren't just bikers. They were veterans, finding purpose in the spaces the world had forgotten. Carol appeared beside her. Your staff now. That means you get a toolkit. She handed Maya a belt with basic tools. And work gloves. Those nurse hands need protecting. Maya strapped on the belt. It felt solid. Real. Where do you want me? Wherever you're needed most. By midday, Maya was on the roof helping seal leaks. Tar paper, shingles, sweat in her eyes despite the cold. Below, she could hear hammering, drilling, voices calling measurements. A young biker named Danny worked beside her, early 20s, a prosthetic leg visible when his jeans rode up. You're good at this, he said, watching her secure a shingle perfectly. My dad was a contractor. Before, Maya stopped herself. Before? She hadn't talked about her past in 2 years. But something about the repetitive work, the honest exhaustion, loosened her tongue. Before I went to nursing school. Before my mom got sick. 3 years earlier. Maya stood in the hospital financial office, staring at numbers that didn't make sense. $347,000 for 12 months of treatment. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Her mother had insurance, but the gaps were catastrophic. We can set up a payment plan, the administrator said, not meeting her eyes. Maya was 20 years old, 1 year into nursing school. Her father had died 5 years earlier, heart attack on a construction site. No savings. No life insurance. How much per month, she asked. $3,200 minimum. She was making $900 a month working nights at a grocery store. The math was impossible. But her mother was dying, and math didn't matter when someone you loved was drowning. Maya took out student loans to cover the medical bills. Then private loans when the student loans maxed out. She worked 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, missed classes to sit by her mother's bedside. Her mother died anyway. 6 months later, Maya was $180,000 in debt with no degree and no way forward. The collectors started calling. Her family, her mother's siblings who'd promised to help, vanished when the bills came. Her Aunt Carol actually said, "You should have let her go peacefully instead of bankrupting yourself." Maya left that night with 1 backpack and never looked back. She died owing nothing, Maya said quietly, still hammering. I made sure of that. But I ended up owing everything. Danny was silent for a moment. Then, my leg. IED in Kandahar. They saved my life, but the VA paperwork took 18 months. I lived in my car for 7 of those months. Jax found me trying to sell my prosthetic for rent money. Did you? No. He paid my rent for 3 months while I sorted the VA claim. Made me promise to do the same for someone else when I could, Danny grinned. I've helped 4 people so far. Feels better than any medal. Maya understood then. The brotherhood wasn't about charity. It was about chains of kindness, each person lifting the next. By evening, the roof was weatherproofed. Maya climbed down, her muscles screaming, and found Jax in the kitchen painting over mold-damaged walls. He'd stripped down to a t-shirt despite the cold. On his left forearm, she noticed a tattoo, "Not all who wander are lost." Tolkien, she said. Surprised? Bikers reading fantasy. A little. Marines reading anything surprises most people, he dipped his brush. I read Lord of the Rings 7 times during my tours. Kept me sane when everything else wasn't. Maya picked up a roller. They painted in comfortable silence for a while. You know about pride, she finally said. About refusing help. Yeah. After the war, when you were homeless, what changed? What made you accept help? Jax paused mid-stroke. I saw a kid. Maybe 8 years old, holding his mom's hand outside a shelter. She was crying because they were full. And I realized, my pride meant nothing if it kept me too weak to help people like them. He turned to face her fully. You gave me your last dollar, Maya. Not because you had plenty. But because someone needed it more. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing a person can do. Maya's eyes burned. She blinked hard. I'm scared, she whispered. Scared that if I accept help, I'll become dependent. That I'll lose myself. You won't. Because you understand the difference between a hand up and a handout, Jax's voice was gentle. Let us help you stand. Then you can help others. That's how this works. Outside, the shelter was transforming. New roof, working plumbing, clean walls. In 2 days, the Brotherhood had done what the city couldn't in 6 months. Maya looked at her paint-stained hands, nurse hands, contractor's daughter hands, survivor hands. Maybe it was time to let them build something new. Starting with herself. The storm hit on the third night. Maya was sorting donated blankets in the shelter's main hall when the first crack of thunder rattled the new windows. Rain hammered the freshly sealed roof, holding strong, not a single leak. Small victories. Outside, the Brotherhood was setting up a mobile kitchen in the parking lot, determined to serve hot meals despite the weather. Tarps stretched between motorcycles, creating a makeshift canopy. The smell of chili and cornbread drifted through the cold air. Then the sirens came. 2 police cruisers pulled up, lights flashing. Behind them, a black sedan, city official plates. Maya's stomach dropped. Nothing good came from officials after dark. Jax was already walking toward them, Carol at his side. Maya followed, instinct pulling her forward. A man in an expensive coat stepped out of the sedan, late 50s, slicked back hair, the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. His badge read Deputy Mayor Richard Carlson. Gentlemen. Ladies, his voice was smooth, practiced. I'm afraid we've received multiple noise complaints about your gathering. Noise complaints? Jax's tone was even. It's 7 p.m. on a Friday. Nevertheless, City Ordinance 34B prohibits large assemblies without proper permits. You'll need to disperse. Carol stepped forward. We filed for a permit 3 days ago. Reference number 2847-JH. It was approved this morning. Carlson's smile thinned. That permit was issued in error. It's been revoked. On what grounds? Public safety concerns. This is a residential area. This is a commercial district, Maya interrupted. Everyone turned to look at her. Her heart hammered, but she continued. St. Anthony's is zoned commercial residential hybrid. There are no houses within 2 blocks. Who exactly is complaining? Carlson's eyes narrowed. And you are? Someone who actually lives here. The words hung in the air. Thunder rumbled, closer now. Miss, I don't know what you think you understand about city planning. I understand that St. Anthony's has been falling apart for 6 months while the city ignored every maintenance request, Maya said, her voice stronger now. I understand that these people fixed it in 3 days. And I understand that the only complaint you have is that someone's actually helping the forgotten people in this city. One of the police officers shifted uncomfortably. The younger one, Maya recognized him. Officer Hayes. He'd given her a blanket once, back when she was sleeping in doorways. Carlson's professional mask cracked. This shelter is a magnet for crime and vagrancy. Vagrancy? Maya's voice cut like glass. You mean people? Human beings who need shelter? I mean individuals who refuse to contribute to society. I gave my last dollar to a stranger 3 nights ago. Maya stepped closer, rain starting to soak through her jacket. While you were probably eating a meal that cost more than some people see in a week. Don't you dare talk to me about contribution. Behind her, she heard phones clicking. The Brotherhood was recording. Carol had her live stream running again. Carlson saw it too. His expression hardened. Officer Mendez, I want these motorcycles cleared. If they refuse, start writing tickets. Obstruction, illegal assembly, whatever applies. The older cop reached for his ticket book. But Officer Hayes didn't move. Sir, Hayes said quietly. They have a permit. Which was revoked. An hour ago. They couldn't have known. Hayes looked at Jax. You've broken no laws. Officer, I'm ordering you. To do what? A new voice cut through the rain. An older woman emerged from the shelter, Mrs. Chen, who'd been staying there for 3 weeks. Behind her, more residents appeared. 20, 30 people, stepping into the storm. To arrest people for feeding the hungry? Another voice, for fixing our roof? Another, for treating us like we matter. The crowd grew. Not just shelter residents, neighbors, people from the surrounding blocks, drawn by the commotion and the smell of free food. They formed a line between the police and the Brotherhood. Carlson's face flushed red. This is illegal assembly. Then arrest all of us, Mrs. Chen said calmly. Officer Hayes put away his ticket book. Sir, I respectfully suggest we leave. This isn't worth the paperwork. Your job will be worth paperwork if you don't. Maya's voice rose above the storm. If kindness makes noise, let it roar. The words came out before she'd thought them through. But they felt right. True. Carol's live stream was going viral in real time. Maya could see the view count climbing on the phone screen. 15,000 people watching. 20,000. The comments flooded in, stand your ground. Don't let them shut you down. We're calling the mayor's office right now. Carlson saw it too. The calculation flickered across his face, political damage versus control. This isn't over, he said finally. We'll be reviewing every permit, every license, every code compliance issue. Do that, Jack said. You'll find everything in order. Carlson got back in his sedan. The police cruisers followed, lights still flashing, fading into the rain. The crowd erupted in cheers. Maya stood frozen, rain-soaked, her heart hammering. She just confronted a city official. On camera. Everything she'd avoided for 2 years, attention, exposure, risk. Jax appeared beside her, rain streaming down his face. You just became the voice of this movement. I didn't mean to. I know. That's what makes it real, he smiled. The clip's already being shared everywhere. If kindness makes noise, let it roar. That's powerful, Maya. She watched the live stream comments scroll past. Thousands of people saying they'd heard her. Believed her. Stood with her. For 2 years, she'd been invisible. Now she was anything but. And terrifyingly, she didn't want to hide anymore. Maya woke the next morning to her phone buzzing, a cheap prepaid one. Carol had given her 4, work coordination, 47 missed calls. 63 texts. The clip had gone nuclear. If kindness makes noise, let it roar was trending on 3 platforms. Someone had made t-shirts. A high school in Oregon had put the quote on their gymnasium wall. Maya's face, rain-soaked, defiant, was everywhere. She wanted to throw the phone out the window. Instead, she went to work. St. Anthony's was chaos. Donations poured in, not just money now, but supplies. Blankets, clothes, medical kits, enough canned food to feed an army. News vans circled like vultures, hoping for interviews Maya refused to give. By noon, she was hiding in the storage room when Jax found her. Need to get you out of here, he said. I'm working. You're drowning. Come with me. Where? Riverside County. Flash floods hit 3 days ago. Small town called Millbrook, 30 families displaced. The Brotherhood's doing a supply run. He paused. Could use someone with medical training. Even incomplete medical training. Maya hesitated. Leaving the city meant exposure. New faces. But it also meant escape from the cameras. How long? Day trip. Back by midnight. She grabbed her jacket. The highway opened up before them like a promise. Maya sat behind Jax on his motorcycle, rebuilt now, running smooth. The wind tore at her hair, cold and clean. She'd forgotten what speed felt like. What freedom tasted like. Behind them, 40 Brotherhood bikes rode in formation. In the saddlebags, water purification tablets, first aid supplies, tarps, emergency blankets. Everything purchased with viral donation money. They reached Millbrook by early afternoon. The town was drowning. Water still stood 2 feet high in some streets. Houses wore waterlines like scars. People moved like ghosts through the wreckage of their lives. The Brotherhood didn't waste time on ceremony. They parked, unpacked, and dispersed. Maya found herself at a makeshift medical tent, really just a tarp strung between 2 intact buildings. An elderly doctor named Patterson ran it, exhausted and overwhelmed. "You trained?" he asked. "1 year of nursing school. You're hired. Antibiotics are in that box. Bandages on the left. We've got mainly waterborne illness, infected cuts, and 1 possible broken arm I haven't had time to examine." Maya's hands moved before her brain caught up. Muscle memory from clinical rotations she'd thought she'd lost. She cleaned wounds, administered medication, applied bandages with the careful precision her professors had drilled into her. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, came in crying, her knee torn open from rusty metal. Her mother looked ready to collapse. "Hey," Maya knelt down to the girl's level. "What's your name?" "Emma." "That's a brave name." "You know what, Emma? I'm going to fix your knee so it can heal super strong. But I need you to be brave for just 2 minutes. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, tears still streaming. Maya worked fast, cleaning, disinfecting, butterfly stitches since they had no sutures. She talked the whole time, telling Emma about a stray cat she'd once befriended, making up elaborate stories about its adventures. By the end, Emma was smiling. Her mother was crying, quiet, grateful tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "We've been waiting for help for days." "FEMA?" Maya asked. "They came, took information, left. Said they'd be back. That was 2 days ago." Maya felt the familiar anger rise, the same anger that had fueled her speech in the storm. The system that saved paperwork but forgot people. By evening, Maya had treated 32 patients. Her back ached. Her hands were raw. She'd never felt more alive. Jax found her as the sun set, painting the floodwaters orange and gold. "You're good at this," he said. "I'm rusty. You cared for every person like they mattered. That's not rusty. That's who you are." Maya watched a family across the street trying to salvage photo albums from their flooded home. Why does the world forget people so easily? Because remembering is hard. Caring is hard. It's easier to look away. Jax leaned against his bike. "That's why we ride. To go where the looking away happens. To be the people who don't forget." "Is that why you started the Brotherhood?" "I started it because I was angry. Angry that my brothers came home from war and slept in gutters. Angry that kids like Emma get hurt and no one comes." He smiled slightly. "But anger's just fuel. You need direction. The Brotherhood gave me that." Maya thought about her own anger, 2 years of it, compressed into silence. Maybe it was time to let it become something useful. A young biker named Marcus called out, "Jax. The Johnson family, their house is salvageable, but they need help moving furniture before the mold sets." On it, Jax turned to Maya. "You in?" She should have been exhausted. Should have wanted to rest. Instead, she followed him. They worked until stars filled the sky. Moving furniture, stripping damaged drywall, anything that helped. The Johnsons fed them dinner, canned soup heated on a camping stove, the best meal Maya had tasted in months. On the ride back, Maya pressed her cheek against Jax's back and closed her eyes. The wind carried away her fears, at least for a moment. "Thank you," she said, quiet enough that maybe he didn't hear over the engine. But he reached back and squeezed her hand once. Message received. They returned to the city past midnight. But when Jax pulled up to St. Anthony's, he didn't stop. He drove to the overlook point, a hill where you could see the whole city spread out like broken Christmas lights. He killed the engine. "You did good today," he said. Really good. The Brotherhood would be lucky to have someone like you permanently. As what? Local outreach coordinator. You know this city. You know what people need. And after that speech in the storm, he smiled. People listen to you, Maya. They believe you. I'm not a leader. You led 32 people to healing today. You led an entire city to pay attention 3 nights ago. Jax turned to face her. You're already leading. Question is, are you ready to accept it? Maya looked out at the city. Somewhere down there, people were cold. Hungry. Invisible. She'd been one of them. Maybe it was time to be something more. Okay, she whispered. I'm in. Maya didn't go back to the alley. For the first time in 2 years, she had somewhere else to sleep, a small room above St. Anthony's, formerly used for storage. The Brotherhood had cleared it out, brought in a bed, a space heater, and curtains for the single window. Carol had left a note on the pillow, not charity. Staff housing. You've earned it. Maya sat on the edge of the bed and cried. Not sad tears, she didn't know what kind they were. Relief, maybe. Or grief for all the nights she'd spent cold, believing this kind of basic dignity was forever out of reach. She slept for 12 hours straight. When she woke, someone had left clothes outside her door. Clean jeans, a warm sweater, socks without holes. And a jacket, not Brotherhood leather, but quality fleece with a simple embroidered patch, St. Anthony's Outreach. Her new uniform. She put it on and went downstairs. The shelter had transformed completely. The main hall buzzed with activity, volunteers sorting donations, residents eating breakfast at real tables instead of on floors, children playing in a corner with donated toys. The walls were painted bright yellow. Windows gleamed. And outside. Maya stepped through the door and stopped. Her old street was unrecognizable. Strings of lights hung between buildings. Long tables lined the sidewalk, covered with food, hot soup, fresh bread, vegetables. The Brotherhood had set up a cooking station, and bikers in aprons served meals to anyone who approached. No questions. No judgment. Local residents had joined in. Mr. Kowalski from the diner was there, distributing coffee. Mrs. Chen organized a clothing swap. Even some of the shop owners who'd once locked their doors when homeless people approached were now volunteering. The alley where Maya had sheltered, where she'd given Jax her last dollar, was lit up like a stage. Someone had painted a mural on the brick wall, a hand offering a single dollar bill, and beneath it, the words "Kindness multiplies." You started this, a voice said behind her. She turned. Jax stood there, holding 2 cups of soup. He offered her one. I gave someone a sandwich. You gave someone hope. There's a difference, he nodded toward the crowd. Everyone here? They're not here because the Brotherhood commanded it. They're here because you showed them what one person can do. Now they want to be that person too. Maya watched a teenage boy, couldn't be older than 16, serving soup to an elderly woman. The careful way he filled her bowl. The dignity in the exchange. It's not sustainable, she said quietly. This feeling, this energy, it fades. I've seen it before. People care loudly for a week, then forget. Maybe Jack sipped his soup. Or maybe we build something that outlasts the feeling. That's why I want you as coordinator. To turn this moment into a movement. I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do. You've survived by knowing exactly what people need and how to get it. That's the skill set. The rest is just organization. Carol appeared, clipboard in hand, looking harried but happy. Maya, thank God. We've got 3 churches offering space for overflow housing, but I need someone to coordinate intake. Also, a restaurant owner wants to donate meals twice weekly, need scheduling. And there's a journalist from the Times who insists on speaking only to you. Tell them no. Already did. Twice, Carol grinned. You're popular, whether you like it or not. Maya felt the old panic rising, the urge to run, to disappear. But then she looked at the mural again. At her own hand, painted in careful detail, offering everything she had. Give me the clipboard, she said. The next 6 hours blurred together. Maya coordinated housing placements, matching families with church spaces, making sure everyone had blankets and basic supplies. She scheduled the restaurant donations, creating a calendar that wouldn't overwhelm any single location. She connected 3 people with job placement services Carol had on file. She worked until her phone battery died, then borrowed someone else's phone. By sunset, she was exhausted and exhilarated. Jax found her sitting on the curb, taking a rare break. He sat beside her and pulled something from his pocket, a motorcycle keychain, simple silver metal shaped like a tiny bike. This was mine, he said. From my first ride with the Brotherhood, when I was still figuring out if I belonged. A veteran named Marcus, different Marcus than ours, gave it to me. Said, you started the engine for all of us. He placed it in Maya's palm. The metal was warm from his pocket. Your turn, he said. You started the engine, Maya. Not just for the Brotherhood, but for this whole neighborhood. People remember what it feels like to care now. Maya's fingers closed around the keychain. I'm terrified I'll let everyone down. You will sometimes. We all do. But you'll show up the next day and try again. That's what makes a leader, not perfection, but persistence. Around them, the street glowed with light and laughter. The smell of food, the sound of conversation, the simple miracle of community forming in a place that had been forgotten. Maya thought about her last dollar. About how empty her hand had felt after giving it away. But emptiness had made room for this, for purpose, for connection, for the strange alchemy of giving and receiving becoming the same thing. Compassion flows both ways, she whispered. What? Nothing. Just. Understanding something I should have learned sooner, she stood up, pocketing the keychain. Come on. We've got work to do. Jax smiled. Yes, boss. And for the first time in 2 years, Maya smiled back, not the careful, defensive smile of survival, but the real thing. The smile of someone who'd found her way home. 1 week later, the Brotherhood announced something big. Maya didn't know the details, Jax had been secretive, grinning whenever she asked. Carol just winked and said, you'll see. All Maya knew was that she needed to have St. Anthony's ready for an event at 7 p.m. on Friday. She spent the day coordinating like usual, intake appointments, donation sorting, connecting a single mother with childcare resources. Normal work. Good work. But as sunset approached, she noticed the street filling with motorcycles. Not just a few. Dozens. Then hundreds. Maya stepped outside and froze. They stretched down the entire block and around the corner, a river of chrome and leather that seemed endless. She counted past 200 and gave up. Every rider wore the Iron Brotherhood patch. Some she recognized from the Millbrook trip. Most were strangers. Jax appeared beside her, wearing his full riding gear. We called in everyone. Every chapter, every state. 500 bikes. For what? For you. For this, he gestured to the street. To show you what $1 can become. At exactly 7 p.m., the engine started. 500 motorcycles roaring to life simultaneously, the sound was physical, vibrating through Maya's chest like a second heartbeat. Then, in perfect synchronization, they turned on their headlights. The street exploded with light. Not harsh, not blinding, but warm. Guiding. The bikes had positioned themselves in precise formation, their headlights creating a corridor of illumination that stretched from St. Anthony's down the entire block. Maya walked forward, mesmerized. Between the lines of motorcycles, volunteers had set up stations, soup kitchen, clothing distribution, medical tent, job counseling booth. Everything lit by the headlights, everything humming with purpose. Children ran between the bikes, their laughter mixing with the engine rumble. Parents followed, some crying at the sight of help offered without strings. The elderly residents of St. Anthony's shuffled out, wrapped in new blankets, their faces soft with wonder. Mrs. Chen stood beside Maya, tears streaming. In 63 years, I've never seen anything like this. Me neither, Maya whispered. Carol appeared with a tablet. Look up. Maya tilted her head back. A drone hovered above them, camera pointed down. On Carol's screen, she could see what it captured, the motorcycle formation from above spelling out a single word in light, hope. We're streaming it, Carol said. 500,000 people watching right now. Maya's breath caught. 500,000 witnesses to what kindness could build. Jack stepped to the center of the corridor, microphone in hand. His voice carried over speakers the Brotherhood had set up. 1 week ago, a young woman gave everything she had to a stranger. $1. Half a sandwich. A night of keeping watch. She expected nothing in return. She asked for nothing. But her generosity reminded us what we'd forgotten, that worth isn't measured in what you have, but in what you're willing to give. He turned to Maya. Maya, come here. She shook her head, but the crowd was already parting. Hands gently guided her forward until she stood beside Jax in the river of light. This woman, Jax continued, taught me that kindness doesn't run out of fuel. It multiplies. It transforms. $1 became 500 bikes. 1 sandwich became meals for hundreds. 1 night of compassion became a movement. He lowered the microphone and spoke directly to her. You thought you were empty. But you were a match waiting to strike. And now look, he gestured to the blazing corridor, the whole world is burning with the light you started. Maya's vision blurred. She felt the weight of 500 pairs of eyes, 500,000 digital witnesses, and the unbearable beauty of being seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. I didn't do this alone, she said, her voice cracking. No, Jax agreed. But you did it first. That's what matters. The event lasted 4 hours. Maya served soup until her arms ached. She helped a Vietnam veteran connect with VA services. She held a crying teenager who'd just been kicked out by her parents and promised her a safe place to sleep. She distributed 50 blankets, coordinated 12 housing placements, and convinced a skeptical business owner to give a homeless man a job interview. All of it lit by 500 headlights that never dimmed. As the crowd finally thinned past 11 p.m., Maya found herself back where it all started, the alley behind Rosie's diner. The mural glowed under new spotlights the city had installed. Kindness multiplies. Jax leaned against his bike, watching her. You okay? I don't know what I am. Maya touched the motorcycle keychain in her pocket. A week ago, I was invisible. Now I'm this. You were never invisible. People just weren't looking. He pushed off the bike. The coordinator position is permanent, if you want it. Salary, benefits, the works. You'll build programs across the city, outreach, housing assistance, job placement. Everything you've been doing, but bigger. And if I fail? Then we pick you up, same way you picked me up. That's how family works. Family. The word settled into Maya's chest like a missing piece clicking into place. She looked down the street, at the lights, the people, the impossible transformation of forgotten space into sacred ground. $1 didn't change my life, she said softly, the words coming like a prayer. What changed it was realizing that kindness never runs out of fuel. It just needs someone brave enough to light the match. Jack smiled. So? You lighting it? Maya pulled out the keychain, letting it catch the light. Behind her, 500 engines still rumbled, patient and powerful. Ready to ride. Yeah, she said. I'm lighting it. The engines roared in response, a chorus of thunder, a promise, an anthem. And Maya finally understood, she'd never been empty. She'd been gathering fuel for this exact moment. Ready to burn bright. Ready to light the way for everyone still walking in darkness. Ready to prove that hope isn't given, it's shared, multiplied, and turned into something no storm can extinguish. $1 at a time. One person at a time. One act of impossible, unreasonable, transformative kindness at a time.